Hello fellow forgers. This video tonight is going to show you how to engrave and cut the proof grade Glowforge acrylic material, and it's going to also talk about defocusing your laser so you get a smooth engraving, some of the other Glowforge settings about engraving, and also using the replicate tool in silhouette and the center of rotation. This is a project that I made. It's a Christmas ornament. So the name here is Madison, and if you look at where my cursor is, you can make out that that's the name. And then I just mirrored it and made copies all the way around to make it into a snowflake. So hopefully if you like the way this looks and follow along with this tutorial, you can make one too. So I'm going ahead and delete this so we can get started on another one. I also want to make one for my brother, whose name is Jared. So I just made it larger so that I can see what I'm doing while I work. The font I've been using for this is Bold Stylish Calligraphy. You might find another font that you like the way it turns into a snowflake, so feel free to try different settings with that. But I went over here to the A followed by a cursor to pull up all of my fonts. You can also reach it by clicking this button here, but I just think it's easier for me to click it over here. So I'm going to type in bold, and I find my Bold Stylish Calligraphy pop up. As you can see right now, this is not welded, so that's the first thing that we want to do, so that all of our letters will actually be connected instead of just overlapping like they are now. So select your name, right click, and hit weld. Usually if you're using this font, your first letter is going to be disconnected from the rest, and if that happens, then just right click and hit group so that the whole name is now one object. The next thing we want to do is to mirror our name. So we go over here to this panel on the right hand side and hit this button, which is the replicate panel. Clicking this option will make it mirror below your name. Now I want to line it up so that they touch just a little bit at the bottom of the name. And depending on your name, you may want to rotate it a little bit so that it interacts. Okay, now I'm going to select the entire name, or both sides of the name, the regular and the mirrored, right click, and hit weld again. So now they're joined together. And also you'll see that the J is still separate, so I'm going to right click and hit group. Now this whole image is one picture. If you don't have this already on your silhouette, I'm going to show you how to turn this option on. This is called the center of rotation, and you'll need it for this project. So, in order to turn on your center of rotation, go down here to the bottom right corner, click on that gear looking icon, go to defaults, and make sure your center of rotation box is checked. Hit apply, and then OK. So now you should have this button also on your computer. What this does is tells your computer, the silhouette program, where to rotate around. So for this project, we want to use the rotate 5 copies option. And as you can see, this is the center point, and it has rotated my name around that point. At this time, you can either decide that you like the way that this looks, or you might want to have a different pattern here. If you want to play around with it some, what you can do is either hit Control-Z on your keyboard, or you can go up here to edit. Sorry, the top of my screen is a little cut off, but you can hit edit, undo, and you can keep pushing that, or on Business Edition, there's actually this multiple undo setting, and you can click on the exact step that you want to undo to. So I want to go all the way back to this replicate option, and you saw that it just undid everything up into that step, and I'm back to where I wanted to be. Now we're ready to go back to our center of rotation. So we'll go ahead and close out of this and go back to my replicate panel. And again, hit the rotate 5 copies. So now there's a lot more overlap here, and I think that I liked it overlapping a little bit less. So I'm going to hit undo again, and I'm going to move it a little bit further out. Hit my rotate copies again, and I think I like the way that this looks. So now that I'm satisfied with it, I'm going to select all of the snowflake area, right click, and hit weld. And now before I click away, I also want to right click and hit group. I'm going to fill this in with a color for now, just so that we can see what it looks like. And I think that looks really pretty. Now we're ready to make the outline around our snowflake design so the Glowforge will know to cut it out. You need to click on the star icon over here, which brings up your offset panel. The first option will make an offset around the outside of your shape. You can choose to cut it out so that all of these intricate areas are also cut out of your acrylic, but I'm just interested in doing it around the outside and doing the center portion. So I'm going to increase my distance. I'm going to go ahead and try it at 0.320 inches. And if you hit the up button instead of hitting apply, then it will allow you to keep changing your offset distance. Whereas if you hit apply, it will set it and then this will return to 0, and you'll basically have to start over if you're not happy with it. You can see that these areas, some of them disappeared, but there are some areas still left. So I'm going to continue to hit the up button until all of those areas are gone. There's also another way that you could do this if you weren't patient. Right click and say release compound path. And at that point you could just go in and click on these and hit delete. Now everything looks like I want it to. And just because I like everything to always stay together, I go back in and group it all back. This part of the video I'm adding in at a later date because I did not explain how to add the hole to put your string so that you can hang it from your Christmas tree. So on the left side here, select this circle and click on the circle again. And in Silhouette Studio, if you hold down Shift while creating your shape, it will keep it symmetrical for you. The diameter of the string I'm using is 0.07 inches, so I try to get it around 0.1. And now I'm going to go back to the select so that I can select it and move it onto my snowflake. And I've been putting it about here where the last 2 portions of the mirrored letters come together. Now, to send it to your Glowforge, you need to save it as an SVG. Go to File, Save As. This will be snowflake name Jared. Format SVG. Okay. Now let's head over to the Glowforge app, which is web-based, and bring up our design from there. We want to hit the upload button and find your file. Actually, I saved in this folder here instead of on my desktop like we usually do. And then it's going to tell you it's processing your design. And as you can see, since I left it large in Silhouette Studio before I exported it, that is also how it imported into my Glowforge. So if you want to make it a particular size, you can either make it that size in Silhouette Studio. I've been making these about 4 to 5 inches across. So if I had went ahead and adjusted that in Silhouette Studio, it would have imported into Glowforge that way. But since I didn't, I can change it still in the Glowforge app. You can see that there's a ruler, a toolbar up here. And go ahead and move that down. I still need to go load my material into my Glowforge and turn it on. So I'll leave this screen running so you can see what that looks like. The Glowforge will go through a focus and centering, and you can hear that happening now. While we're waiting on that, we can tell it what material we're using, and you should do that first because that's what will set what settings you can choose from. So I'm using the proof grade medium clear acrylic from Glowforge. And you can see here that it has set both the inside of the snowflake name and the outside to cut. Of course, we want the inside, which you can see is highlighted. When you highlight it here on the left panel, it will highlight what area it's talking about over here. So if I highlight this, you can see that the lines turn blue because this is the outer piece. Highlight here, this is the inner piece. So the order that things are listed here is the order that they'll happen on your Glowforge. So I want it to engrave the name first. No particular reason why, but I think that it would be better for it to still be attached to the board while it's engraving and then cut it out as a final step. So now you can see that my material is in there, and I've been cutting out other snowflakes along with my llama cake topper from my previous video. So move that to a cleared area, and also go back here. Since this says cut, I want to change that to engrave. Now I've been playing around with what the differences are between the draft SD and HD options. And from what I can tell, the draft graphic is going to give you a lower lines per inch versus the SD should be higher than 195, and then the HD is going to be higher than that. So that's a 450. And basically, when the Glowforge engraves something, it goes line by line, back and forth. So having a higher lines per inch just means that it's going to do more lines per inch so that you're engraving closer lines. And you would think that it would look better that way, and on some projects it does. And also keep in mind that the more lines per inch you have, the longer it's going to take to engrave. So what I've found during these making of these snowflakes is if I choose the draft graphic option but defocus my laser, I get a beautiful engrave that doesn't take as much time. And what it means to defocus your laser is to set the focus height higher than your actual material. So that makes your laser beam basically fuzzy, if you will. It makes it wider. So that instead of going line by line where you can see each line in the acrylic that's being cut, it kind of smooths it out because it's doing a wider pass. You can play around with those settings and you'll see what I mean better. The default for the proof grade acrylic is to set the focus height at 0.125 inches, but I've been setting it at 0.325 inches. So that's basically tricking it into thinking that my focus height is higher, and you just get a smoother engrave on your acrylic that way. So now that I have that in there, I hit enter, and you can just click back over here, make sure everything is lined up how you want it to be, and hit the print button. And it's going to estimate how long it's going to take to print your project. Around anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes is how long I'm finding that it takes to make these snowflakes. So if anyone out there knows any way to do it faster, that's always the question. But for now, I'm going to hit print on my Glowforge and hop over and video that so you can see the magic happen. Okay, I don't know where the video is I took of the Jared snowflake, but these are two other snowflakes I made with the names Megan and Christopher. And right now this video is at normal speed, but I'm going to go ahead and speed that up to 4 times the regular speed. And here are the beautiful snowflakes finished hanging on the Christmas tree, and you can see the way that they reflect the Christmas lights also. Bonus footage if you stuck around, here is the cake topper from my llama video, and also here is the mulligan engraving from my other video as well. Thanks for watching, and if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know in the comments. And if you know how to do anything better, also let me know that in the comments. Also, if you haven't bought your Glowforge yet, please consider using my referral link. You will save money on any model of the Glowforge, and I will also get the same in materials so that I can keep creating and making these videos. I'm thinking my next video will be about how to use Ceramark to engrave on stainless steel, and also how to use the trace function in the Glowforge and in the Silhouette Studio, so stay tuned.